66 News at 10.
It's time to turn the thermostat all the way up. I'm going to show you for how long we need it cranked. Coming up.
I've worked for the Game and Fish Commission for 20 years, and it's one of the stranger things that's happened.
Tonight, a bizarre hunting accident leaves one man dead. How he ended up being attacked by a deer he thought was dead. And what you can do to avoid a potentially dangerous situation. Jack-o'-lantern outrage.
We understand that someone complained about them.
Why Bed Bath & Beyond pulled these pumpkins. And we could know tomorrow if the UAW strike will be coming to an end. We'll show you how we reached this point, 39 days after workers walked off the job.
Covering all of the Flint Bay region, Fox 66 News at 10 starts right now.
It may be cold, but at least we've avoided any rain this evening. Looking live right now through the Fox 66 Skynet camera right into downtown Flint, and it looks pretty peaceful compared to some nights. Ahmed Badji is in the Weather Center. So Ahmed, I know you're closely watching for Friday Night Football in the forecast right now.
Oh, absolutely. The thing is, it feels so much easier going tonight compared to the past several. So we don't have any wind. Check it out outside your window. Calming conditions taking over around the region with just enough cloud cover actually to continue into a part of the night. We've got the clear skies also helping us drop, at least for the beginning of it. Check out the temperatures already in the 30s in Bad Axe, Port Austin, Mount Pleasant, Gladwin, West Branch, low 40s around the rest of the area. Just enough, of course, to be able to hold on through the rest of the night. And you see that if you're in the 40s now, we continue to drop throughout much of it. By tomorrow morning, the cloud cover, of course, still hanging around in the 30s. Begin our early morning hours. Now for the school day tomorrow, what you're going to end up with here is just a high right around that 50 mark. Not exactly the warmest, but hey, that lack of wind helps us feel pretty close to it.
All new tonight, the Justice Department has shifted its review of the Russia investigation to a formal criminal inquiry. This is all according to a person familiar with the investigation. The DOJ had previously considered it to be an administrative review, and it's unclear when it became a criminal investigation and what potential crimes are being investigated here. But the move gives prosecutors the ability to issue subpoenas and potentially expand a grand jury. The number of children taken from families at the border has been released. The American Civil Liberties Union says U.S. immigration separated more than 1,500 children from their parents, bringing the total number of children separated since July to more than 5,400. Out of that 1,500, 207 were under the age of 5. A federal judge has given the government until Friday to identify children separated going back to July of 2017. This just in, UAW Local 651 in Flint just posted this to its Facebook page. They have voted no on the tentative deal from General Motors. UAW Local 659 based in Flint voted to ratify the new contract. Nearly 70% of production and skilled trade workers voted yes. Local 598 in Flint, Local 668 in Saginaw, and Local 362 in Bay City have also voted yes. We could be nearing the end of the strike, but UAW locals nationwide are still voting on this tentative agreement with General Motors. For nearly a month and a half now, workers have been on the picket line and making only $275 a week of strike pay. Fox 66's Famie Redwood shows us the timeline of how this has all played out.
During this nearly 6-week strike, we've introduced you to those who are passionate.
We ready to die for this.
Those uncertain.
Yes, we're striking, but is it going to be as effective?
And those frustrated.
Let's just settle this thing and get back to work.
Different perspectives, but a similar goal. Getting what they say they deserve. The UAW contract expired September 14th. At 11 the following day, this became the first automobile strike in more than a decade. Top issues included health care, tiered wages, and a path to permanency for temporary workers. But the strike comes at a complicated time when current and former UAW leaders are under federal investigation for embezzlement, and also at a time where union membership has declined. During the 1998 strike, hundreds of picketing workers blocked traffic in Flint. Today, often less than a dozen strikers line each GM entrance. On September 17th, workers were moved off GM's health care. They were reinstated on the 26th. September 30th, GM passed a proposal, but the union said it did not satisfy its demands. So the union sent a counter-proposal the following day. After days of negotiation, there was a turn for the worse October 6th. The two sides spent the next few days criticizing each other. The back and forth continued, more meetings, some including the CEO of GM. And then on October 16th, a tentative agreement was reached. Voting began on the 19th, and on Friday, voting will end. If the deal is approved, the strike would end. But for these workers and the 48,000 others, did this contract give them their goal of getting what they say they deserve? Well, depends on who you ask. In Flint, Fahmy Redwood, Fox 66 News.
We do have a section on our website dedicated to all of this. So for the latest on the voting, just get our Fox 66 mobile app, and then you can get it by searching Fox 66 in the App Store or the Google Play Store. There's been another vape-related death, this time in D.C. The CDC is reporting more than 100 new cases of illnesses from vaping across the country. The health agency is saying 49 states, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands are all dealing with this, with a total of 1,604 cases. That's making it 125 more cases than we had reported last week. The CDC also reports 34 deaths from vaping, but most of them, they do say, are from the THC pens. Detroit native rapper Eminem is known for his provocative, sometimes violent lyrics, but this time he got in a bit of trouble with the Secret Service. BuzzFeed is reporting Secret Service spokespeople went to Eminem following the release of his latest album, Revival, for a song he calls Framed. They say his lyrics were threatening and very inappropriate, the behavior toward President Donald Trump and his daughter, Ivanka Trump. Well, there was this man right here, who police say drove to Saginaw County from Kansas to have sex with a 13-year-old girl. Now he's going to prison. We just don't yet know for how long. Today, he admitted he was guilty. He took a plea deal, which avoids the case going to trial, but guarantees prison time. Scott Janner was originally charged with 7 counts, including kidnapping. Through the plea deal, he will only be sentenced on 4 counts of criminal sexual conduct. But those charges, they carry a mandatory sentence in prison up to 15 years. It was back in February when Janner was caught at a motel in St. Charles with the 13-year-old girl, rather. The motel owners stopped him from leaving, actually, until police got there to arrest him. The Saginaw County Prosecutor's Office says the victim wanted a plea deal so she wouldn't have to be re-victimized through a trial. Janner is set to be sentenced December 3rd. No matter what, he will have to register, too, as a sex offender for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, in Flint, a judge sentenced this man to decades in prison for killing a 16-year-old boy during an illegal gun sale. 24-year-old Emilio Cortez Lloyd will be behind bars for anywhere from 31 to 62 years. He was convicted last month on second-degree murder. He killed Sean LaBelle back in December 2016 outside of LaBelle's home in Flint. Wanda Garner, a 26-year-old mother of 2, was killed when bullets were shot into her vehicle back on July 21st. This is her right here. Today, her family held a news conference with Crime Stoppers. Fox 66's Leah Kamenaz shares why her family is still begging for answers.
I'm asking help for find my daughter's killer. I want justice for my grandsons. They without their mother. They ask about their mother.
Wanda Garner was in a car with 2 others around Saginaw Street and Avenue A when shots were fired into the vehicle. She was killed.
Anybody that know, please come forward and give us help, give us justice.
The shots were fired from a burgundy Mercury Milan. 1 suspect taken into custody, but 2 others remain at large.
The person's still out there. That could be next to you. They done this before. I believe they had to. It's not just that easy to just go and do something so violent.
Garner's parents saying she would bend over backwards for others, always wanting to help.
Please know that type of a person deserves something better than just out there like an animal that just got roadkill. That's what I feel like if nobody can speak up.
If you don't do it for yourself, do it for my grandchildren. Because when they get older, they gonna want answers. They gonna wonder where their mama at.
Right.
And I want to be able to tell them.
In Flint, Leah Kamana, Fox 66 News.
There's a $2,500 reward if you have any information. The tip line is there on your screen. Happening tomorrow, human rights advocate Martin Luther King III will be in Flint. He will be discussing the importance of treating water as a human right. The oldest son of civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr. will be at Grace Emmanuel Church on Lapeer Road at 1 p.m. A hunter becomes the hunted. How a man ended up dead after being attacked by a deer he thought he killed. A 40-page waiver, a doctor's note, and a safe word. And if you survive, you get $20,000. We'll tell you about the scariest haunted house in the country. A promising Alzheimer's drug is back on track for approval.
Overnight, this drug went from off the shelf, done, to now being the potential next drug approved.
Why researchers say this drug will be historic.
New numbers give one presidential candidate a boost. And how do those leading in the polls a year out typically do come election time? I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with answers.
This is Fox 66 News at 10.
An odd hunting-related death from Arkansas. A man died after authorities say he was attacked by the deer that he actually shot. The 66-year-old man shot the buck while he was hunting. Investigators think the man was checking to see if the deer was dead when it then attacked him. The deer punctured the man several times. He was alone, and he later passed away at the hospital.
I've worked for the Game and Fish Commission for 20 years, and it's one of the stranger things that's happened.
The Arkansas Game and Fishing Commission says it's important for all hunters to make sure that that deer is not moving after you shoot one for about 30 minutes before then going up to it. Well, this is something I don't think I could do. Listen to this. There's a haunted house in Tennessee and Alabama. It is so extreme, it requires participants to be medically cleared by a doctor, sign a 40-page waiver. It's called McCamey Manor, but there are so many other requirements to even be able to do this, and the owner even calls it more of a mental game than a haunted house. So you have to be 21 or older, or with parents' approval if you're 18 to 20. Complete a sports physical. I'm not done yet. A doctor's note saying you're physically and mentally cleared. Still not done. Pass a background check and a drug test. We're going to keep going. Be screened over the phone. Have proof of medical insurance. Then back to that 40-page waiver you have to sign there. Very detailed, too. And then get this. To enter, though, all you need is a bag of dog food.
Please tell me that you get something for all of that with just the bag of dog food you got to bring.
You do. If you make it through, you get $20,000 on it. But the owner says nobody has been able to complete it. So would you do it?
Yeah, that's going to be a big hard no from me. About as spooky as I will go is a haunted house that's on US 127, Terror on 27. That's about as spooky as I'll go.
Yeah, this is crazy.
This is a little much.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Anyway, let's go with something that I do know a little more about. That's going to be the forecast for tonight. We do have some clear skies actually taking over in spots. Not enough to be able to allow us to completely plummet into the basement, but enough that it is absolutely cooling down. We've got the 40s here, right around the Tri-Cities and Shiawassee, Genesee, Lapeer counties. That's where we start to cool down. You can see right there around Lapeer, Bad Axe, Caseville, Tawas City, and West Branch, all cooling on down there into the 30s. Now, the big thing beyond that is the fact that while we have those clear skies, and they continue for a good portion of the night, we go further into tomorrow morning. So here's where we end up, right around that mid-30s mark. But areas like Midland to Sanford, Mount Pleasant, you have clearing all night, just enough to drop you almost, not quite, but just almost to near that freezing mark. Now, by the afternoon tomorrow, we're aiming at a high near 50, right around Saginaw, Bay City, down toward the Flint area. We're going to try, but tomorrow night is the coldest one. We are at or below freezing in many spots. Areas like Eau Gray, Standish actually, Tawas will be in that mid-30s mark just because of how close to the water you are. That's the only reason why. Everybody else, we are dropping, with Sandusky even making it down to almost 30. Now the 50s do rebuild on Saturday afternoon. Look, right here, we're at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. That brings you those low to mid 50s again, trying to warm back up. Now as you go further throughout the futurecast, the big thing is, of course, the clearing skies. And we get true clear skies for an extended period of time right after the kids come home from school tomorrow. Sets the stage for an absolutely beautiful Friday night. And we go into Saturday morning with the same type of setup. That's why it's chilly. But going into Saturday afternoon, cloud cover moves in from the south and rain arrives after sunset. That's going to be the key there. As we go over the next couple of days beyond that, of course, the weekend brings you a little bit more warmth by the time we get to Sunday, but with that rain lasting into Sunday morning.
So like you said, get the leaves done on Saturday.
Do it then. That's the best bet.
Well, I have some good news for you, Ahmed. There is some news about outer space we have coming up next. The story is all about how you can invest, too. It's pretty out of this world. You can get a stock that is out of this world. Investors will be able to take a stake in a space tourism company. Listen up, Ahmed. Virgin Galactic is set to become the first publicly traded commercial human spaceflight company. The founder says it could be months away from the first flight, though, where customers will experience weightless and look into outer space. 600 people have already reserved their spots, but Ahmed, don't get too excited. It's not very cheap. It costs $250,000 each. A drug that helps manage Alzheimer's disease is one step closer to getting approval from the federal government. Researchers are calling this drug historic. Steve Wolford reports.
Overnight, this drug went from off the shelf done to now being the potential next drug approved.
Dr. Marwan Sabah, director of the Cleveland Clinic Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health, says what a difference a little extra data makes. He says during the initial analysis of aducanumab's effects, it didn't show enough promise to pursue it. But a deeper dive into the data from the test group at the Ruvo Center showed it clearly removed plaque or amyloids from the brains of Alzheimer's patients.
These are before, these are after, okay? This is the placebo group. Red is all the amyloid in the brain. This is the highest dose. This is the before and after. This is a year later. This is a brain full of amyloid, all the red. And this is a brain full of is empty of amyloid after a year.
Now, based on its ability to slow down the ravaging effects of Alzheimer's, some are calling aducanumab a history-making drug. Its maker, Biogen, is set to take it to the FDA for approval in a few months, meaning it could be on the market as early as a year from now. Dr. Sabah makes it clear this is not an Alzheimer's cure, but instead management.
And it's important because if we could avoid all those complications because they're staying well or just mildly impaired and not getting worse, the downstream benefits are gigantic.
That includes the benefits for families of patients who might never need to put a loved one in a nursing home.
Best case scenario is that they have mild Alzheimer's dementia. We refill their meds every 6 months, and 7 years later, they're still very mild or even slightly better, and they're not worse. They're still in their home. They're still somewhat semi-independent.
That could sound pretty amazing for some people to have access to this, but Dr. Sabah warns this drug, it might not be cheap if or even when it's approved by the FDA. He's also unsure if the medicine will even be covered by insurance plans. Coming up, sometimes people with autism don't get the same opportunities as others, but one group at Western Michigan University is making sure that that won't be the case for everyone. Plus, a family almost hit is saved thanks to a crash. Coming up, we'll explain how this all went down.
This is Fox 66 News at 10.
Take a very close look here. This was a close call for a family in Phoenix. This driver running a red light, the family's trying to cross the street, then that car runs right into that Jeep, basically saving them. Pretty incredible. The sergeant of the Arizona Police Department can't believe how lucky this family got.
It sends shudders down my spine to think of what might have happened to this family.
And this is the man in the Jeep, 28-year-old Ernesto Oveso. Police say that he actually jumped out of his Jeep and took off, but someone who saw this all happen chased after him. The driver, even though pulled a knife on the guy who went after him. Police say Oveso was drunk and a wanted man with at least 4 different warrants out for his arrest. The driver of that Chevy Cruze that hit the Jeep is okay, police say. Oveso has been arrested, and there was actually another woman in that car as a passenger, but police have not yet found her.
All right, time for a look at a bit of a chilly night here out ahead of us. The main thing, how long it lasts, because we are going to get a little on the cold side. Check it out. Outside your window going through tonight and into tomorrow, we dip down to a low at about 37 to 38 by tomorrow morning. Definitely on the chilly side. That low 50s mark for the high, that's as far as we make it. But notice something important here. Cloud cover clearing by the time we get to the evening. In the thumb, Tuscola, Huron, Sand Lake counties, upper 40s, following that trend. Cloud cover through the day, really clearing by the time we get to that late afternoon and early evening hour. So we've got a good setup to be able to get some sun by the end of the day and set the stage for an amazing Friday night. Check that out. Upper 40s to 50 right here in the middle. We should hit 50 in Saginaw, Bay City, Midland. That's going to allow us to actually get more of that sunshine in by the end of the day. Northern counties, big thing here. Upper 40s taking over enough that we do have just enough of a climb. You're going to get a little warmer, close to what the thumb's going to be at, but with better sunshine in the afternoon. You notice it actually turns clearer by 2 o'clock, so a little earlier for you. Now on the model, big thing here is again that cloud cover that tries to hold overnight into tomorrow morning, and by the afternoon, 3:30, as kids are stepping off the school bus, elementary school kids mostly, right? That's when we start to see the sunshine really break through. And as it does, we turn into a real clear evening. We are not talking wind, because there really isn't any for tomorrow night. It is cold, it is clear, it is calm. It's the perfect setup there for a really cold night there. As we go into Saturday morning, still on the clear side, we get more cloud cover moving in from the south to the north. Rain arrives Saturday night after sunset. But once we get after sunset on Saturday night, all the way into Sunday morning, we're stuck with the rain. But the big thing is still tomorrow night, because for football, your game of the week, going for the win, Lapeer, Davison. We've got a title on the line, more of which Jonathan is going to cover here for you in just a few minutes, because that's a big showdown that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, he says it's a pretty big game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a cold one, but I'll tell you what, it's a beautiful night for it.
And, you know, we can complain about the cold and the weather. We've been dealing with the winds. I know we've had, you know, a tough time on the lakes and whatnot, but we are not dealing with anything like California. What they're seeing out there with these massive wildfires, take a look. It's really just incredible. More than 25 million people are under red flag warnings across California right now. Fire is burning north and south.
There are really quite a few. There was one this morning that had exploded to about 10,000 acres at 0% contained. I mean, that is a rough battle that they are trying to fight there, and they just don't seem to get a break.
It's hard to imagine. Authorities have ordered like 40,000 people to evacuate neighborhoods north of LA. I'm talking the city there, and the LA County Fire Chief says there's no containment, like you said, right now in either blaze they've got near the city, which is crazy. Now, on the other side of this, Denver is experiencing quite the opposite. Snow. Yes, Ahmed, I said the word.
Oh, and going into earlier this evening, at about 7 o'clock this evening, the panhandle of Texas was getting hit with an inch of snow per hour.
Wow.
Big amount of snowfall.
It's eventually going to come. In Denver, trees are coming down even with this snow. Several car accidents. You can see the plow trucks out there. And I know it's not going to be long, and we'll probably be dealing with the same type of weather around here.
Yeah, I still need to get my snowblower redone. I made a mistake.
About that.
The carburetor's all messed up. Oh well.
Thank you, Ahmed.
They are pumpkins, black pumpkins. Idiots. That's all there is.
That was one of several reactions to these pumpkins right here. An NAACP director out of New York says it shows an extreme lack of sensitivity. A law firm is the one who decided to take these pumpkins off their porch less than 48 hours after they went up because of the backlash. The pumpkins were personalized even with the names of employees. The Farrick, Nugent, and McCartney law firm claims they never were meant, though, to offend anybody.
If you go into Bed Bath & Beyond, you don't think they're going to be selling offensive materials?
Bed Bath & Beyond is also apologizing tonight. The company saying there was no ever an offense that was intentional here, and they've immediately removed the pumpkins for sale. Promotes, for one group, it stands for Providing Realistic Opportunities to Mentor On-Site Training for Employment Skills. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but their mission really is simple: to help students with autism find and keep jobs. Western Michigan University students have helped 16 people with autism so far. One father says before Promotes, all he heard was people telling him his son would never be able to do anything with his life.
They encouraged him to get a driver's license. They did practice interviews with him, and they had him fill out applications for probably 10 or 15 different companies.
Now, on the other side of this, the program is also working with businesses and encouraging them to hire on their students. More people could soon qualify for overtime pay in Michigan. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is directing her administration to start the process of raising that threshold. Political reporter Mackenzie Frost was in Detroit for that announcement, and she explains who could qualify for more money and what it could do for the economy.
If you are a salaried worker in Michigan, you could soon qualify for overtime pay, but it will depend on how much money you make. Governor Gretchen Whitmer says the extra boost in your bottom line could be good for the entire state. The Peacock Room in Detroit's Fisher Building sells upscale clothing and accessories.
I feel like retail stores and restaurants, we are the boots on the ground of the Michigan economy.
Owner Rachel Lutt says if people have more money, it's good business.
They spend it. We see it in the local economy.
Boosting bottom lines for people is the goal of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's new plan to raise the threshold for salaried employees qualifying for overtime pay.
This is really about pulling more people into the middle class.
Right now, salaried employees who make just over $23,000 a year don't get paid overtime.
They're not able to participate in the economy.
The Trump administration is raising it to $35,568. Whitmer says that's not high enough. It only impacts less than 1 in 6 Michiganders, pointing to an Obama-era plan of raising that threshold to $51,000. Whitmer says Michigan's rule could be something close.
So I would anticipate that it's in that ballpark, but I'm not going to prejudge it.
She's directing the State Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity to start gathering input.
We're asking for that data from businesses, from employers, from employees, so we can set the right rule.
Michigan joined several other states looking to raise the threshold to include more salaried workers. California, Washington, Pennsylvania, all looking to boost that threshold. For Lutz in the Peacock Room, I'm gonna get your signature. She says when businesses invest in their employees,
we believe that the better you treat your employees, the better your business grows,
the more the state's economy can grow. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, along with 21 states, including Michigan, successfully sued the Obama administration when it tried to raise that threshold to $51,000. Whitmer says this entire rulemaking process could take anywhere between 6 to 12 months. In Detroit, Mackenzie Frost, back to you.
And speaking of that other side, Rich Studley, CEO of the Michigan Chamber, took to Twitter late this afternoon responding to Governor Whitmer's proposed rules. He says in part, the Michigan Chamber is very disappointed and strongly opposed to Governor Whitmer's reckless plan to bypass the legislative process and unilaterally impose this extremely expensive and highly counterproductive state mandate on Michigan's job providers. We have an update now on the 39 bodies found in that truck in eastern England yesterday. Police say all of the bodies are Chinese citizens. The truck's container also was put on a ferry in Belgium, they say, to be sent to England. British detectives have been given an additional 24 hours to question the driver on suspicion of murder. We will continue to keep you updated as more information comes out. New numbers are in, and presidential candidate Joe Biden is probably pretty happy to see them. Despite the attacks and plenty of self-inflicted wounds, he's seeing a boost in support. But is it that significant, and can it last? Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
Thank you, thank you.
Joe Biden is buoyed these days by more than just hometown chants. Nationally, new CNN polling shows him up 15% over the rest of the Democratic field. He continues to lead many surveys despite gaffes, allegations of wrongdoing with Ukraine, and even apologies for past statements, like his criticism of President Trump's lynching reference, then being exposed for similar use of the word.
Even if the president should be impeached, history is going to question whether or not this was just a partisan lynching.
But polls, especially after 2016, may not carry as much weight. And in fact, some competing ones show Elizabeth Warren now in the lead. Of course, there's also history, which adds insight too. Shifts do happen. The polling leader at this point in the past did win the nomination the last two cycles, but in 2008, Hillary Clinton and Rudy Giuliani were atop the field in October, both eventually dropping out. Cash, another concern, with the New York Times reports Biden spending more than he's taking in and in serious need.
Chipping in $1, $5, $10.
Problematic, since when it comes to pulling in individual donors, Biden falls well behind Warren, Buttigieg, and Sanders. And the competition sees an opening.
So those Democrats who are looking for an alternative now, I want to make the case today very directly that look no further.
Though fewer options, with Tim Ryan dropping out Thursday, leaving Biden with one less opponent. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
This leads us to our question tonight. Who would you vote for president? So far, we got 28% saying Donald Trump and 72% saying Joe Biden. Coming up next in sports, we will get you set for tomorrow's night's game of the week. We got Davison hosting Lapeer for the league title. A big game here. Regional finals night. Both Powers and Fenton also looking to advance. Highlights coming up next. The federal government spends tens of millions of dollars maintaining thousands of buildings nationwide, including many that sit empty. Mark Hyman investigates for tonight's Inside Your World.
You might be surprised to learn that no one really knows how many buildings the federal government owns. Not even the feds themselves. Government estimates have ranged from about 120,000 to 400,000. Lori Rictanis from the Government Accountability Office says that's because just about every agency reports the numbers and status of their properties in different ways.
Whenever you have something that purports to be a government-wide database, but you have many, many different people reporting, you're going to probably argue about what is the ultimate number.
A 2004 presidential executive order was the first time federal agencies were required to report their property holdings annually. But even when they do, major details can be wildly inaccurate.
And then you see things like this.
This doesn't surprise Leslie Page from Citizens Against Government Waste. We met with her only a few blocks from the U.S. Capitol. Across the street is a 350,000 square foot, 5-story warehouse they consider an office building. How can they get it so wrong?
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? How can they get it so wrong? This is more the pattern than the exception.
To make matters worse, after a federal building becomes vacant, it can take years or even decades before something is done with it. This was the case in Knoxville, Iowa. Population, 7,000. The 39 buildings of the century-old VA hospital could have had many uses, but neglect over the past 15 years has taken its toll. World War II veteran Don Green used to work there. Have you seen the campus recently?
It's a shame to let that all go to waste like that, but that's the government for you.
When the feds finally do give up buildings, communities like this one in Iowa may be saddled with exorbitant cleanup costs, as local radio executive Bob Leonard told us.
The federal government, as far as I understand it, is going to walk away. And what does it cost to remove these buildings? The last estimate that I saw was $11 million.
At the same time, thousands of buildings like these are seemingly abandoned across the country. The amount of space leased by federal agencies is on the rise. Leasing or building new offices rather than using existing properties happens too frequently, according to Page.
It's easier to build, more fun to build, than it is to take over an already existing property that has to be retrofitted.
That's because there's a lot of red tape and steps that must be taken before a vacant building can be repurposed or disposed of. It's much easier to lock the doors and just forget about it.
And if we want to get rid of a lot of these properties, we have to incentivize agencies to do it, and we have to hold them accountable to it.
In the meantime, some communities bear the burden of managing buildings that have outlived their usefulness.
My heart fills with sadness because what happened here, none of us that know and have experienced this would want it to happen elsewhere.
For Inside Your World Investigates, I'm Mark Hyman in Knoxville, Iowa.
So what does all this cost the taxpayer? The government estimates it spends about $2 billion a year to maintain those empty buildings.
Now, Fox 66 Sports. Brought to you by Dordt Federal Credit Union.
The Fenton Tigers had a chance to do something the school has only accomplished one other time, and that's win a boys soccer regional final, the last one coming in 2016, just a few years ago. To do it, though, they'd have to beat Detroit Country Day, the defending state champions. Fenton got on the board first. 10 minutes in, Cal Curtis up ahead to Andrew Hutchins. The junior, about 30 yards out, puts it right under the crossbar to give the Tigers the 1-0 lead. What a strike from the midfielder. Fast forward to the second half. This is a free kick. Country Day keeper cannot hang on in the box. That's Chappell right there. Ben Chappell cleans up the mess in front. The Tigers win their second regional championship in the last 4 years. They are moving on with a 2-1 win.
It's all about these guys just having fun, and I mean they mess around. They mess around so much, you know, and we talk about it, and my job is just to stay out of their way. You know, let them have fun, let them be kids, you know, and try not to coach them too much.
We knew we could do this from day one. We're such a good team together, and we all love each other, and it helps us win games.
The Powers Chargers playing under the lights tonight at Atwood against Macomb Lutheran North. First half, Lutheran North on the attack. Andrew Finkel finds Blake Hart, who puts it in with the right foot to make it 2-0. Final seconds of the half, rather the game. David Mueller doing it all by himself, going down the sideline, kind of cuts his way back towards the middle of the field and beats the keeper short side with just seconds remaining. Powers' season comes to an end. They lose this one 3-0.
It's always hard to lose seniors or, end of season, but I can't help to be proud of these seniors, this team. We were a shadow of what a team that we are now, and just a testament to their hard work and dedication to the program. And it was one postseason for the books.
In Division 4, Region 15, Bad Axe taking on Clarkston Everest Collegiate. The Hatchets coming up short, falling 2-1, and they end the season with a record of 12-5-3. It is the final week of the high school football regular season, and of course, our For the Win game of the week features a battle for a league title. Davison hosting Lapeer. The Lightning lost in week 1 and have followed it up with 7 consecutive wins using a balance between strong offense and strong defense. The offense scoring about 38 points each week, but the defense keeping opponents under 10 points per game. The Lightning are excited for the opportunity to face a rival in the final game of the regular season.
It's a rival game, and it's going to be that no matter what. But this year, it's for playoff positioning. It's for the Saginaw Valley title. So, it means a lot from those perspectives.
It's always a good time playing those guys, just having a nice rivalry. A lot of teams don't have it, and it's just a blessing that we do.
The Davison Cardinals have an incredibly high-powered offense that averages more than 48 points per game, and they've been able to do this thanks in large part to quarterback Brendan Sullivan, who has thrown for 28 touchdowns so far this season. The Cards know they are up against a tough defense in Lapeer and have to be clicking on all cylinders offensively to have a chance in this one.
We have to match their physicality up front, and then get the ball to our athletes in space and let them make plays. So, got to be able to run the football. We're going to come out and establish the run early, and then from there, everything should fall in place, hopefully.
They're one of the most aggressive teams we'll play this year, no matter who we play in the playoffs and everything. They have a physical team, and we just got to match that and exceed it, and we'll be good.
Jake Weingartz, who you saw there, the head coach at Davison, used to be on the staff of Mike Smith at Lapeer. So while there are league title implications, it could affect seeding in the playoffs, there might be a little personal rivalry well tomorrow night.
Most definitely. And you said it's going to be a big game. They almost went to Atwood.
Yeah, this game at one point talked about being on Saturday at Atwood Stadium. Back to Friday night at Davison, but a ton of people planning to be there, including our own Gina Trotman tomorrow night.
Get there early so you get a seat in the stands.
Exactly. They started selling tickets on Tuesday.
All right, we'll be right back with the forecast so you know what you need or don't need Friday night. Well, we want to check out the Chime-In Gallery. We love seeing all your pictures, and Halloween is so close, so we're getting tons of costumes. We love it. This one, very creative. It comes from Mackenzie. She's Cindy Lou Who, and then you've got the baby Grinch, of course, there as well. That is adorable. I love that one.
Fantastic.
Very creative. I love the ones where it's not completely store-bought. You kind of look what you got around the house and put it together.
Good effort.
What are you going to be?
What am I going to be? I'm not very creative.
Okay.
Baby sharks for the kids, and we're fish.
Baby sharks.
So Dory and Nemo.
Oh,
not parents.
Not bad.
Anyway,
I try.
Here's a look at the forecast here for tomorrow night. Let's start off with, of course, that cool air. For that game of the week, of course, Lapeer, Davison, easy going, but oh so chilly. So make sure you bundle up for a big showdown there.
Yeah, 39 by 9 p.m. You definitely want to wrap up.
Yeah, for sure.
Stay warm, Jonathan.
Yeah, if you can watch from the car, you should try to do that.
No.
It's a hot cocoa night.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.